All right, hi guys. Hopefully you guys get something out of this video even though we don't have class today. So we're going to talk about something that will be really helpful to you in our new unit, which won't be until after spring break. But if we learn these basics right now, I think it'll make things a lot faster later on, and we'll have some less notes to take that week after spring break. So you should have a handout in front of you. You're going to be filling in some notes there at first, and then we'll do kind of like we've done before. You try an example on your own, I'll do some with you, and then the back of this worksheet is what you're going to do for the rest of the class today. So today we're going to talk about standard form versus slope-intercept form. These are both forms for linear equations. I believe that's a fill-in-the-blank part on your worksheet. These are both for linear equations. So you guys have already learned a lot about slope-intercept form. So this is y equals mx plus b. You've already learned a lot about this. Hopefully you remember that m is your slope, b is your y-intercept, x is your independent variable or IV, and y is your dependent variable or dv. So that's what the slope-intercept form of a line is. It's easy to see your slope, it's easy to see your y-intercept, and you can put whatever variables you want to use for your independent and dependent variable there. Now, slope-intercept form is really nice to use when one variable, and you guys should be writing all of this down. If I'm going too fast, you guys can pause it. When one variable depends on the other. So in this case, our y, it's all by itself, it depends on x, and that's how we plug x into our equation. So this is when one variable depends on the other. So next we're going to talk about standard form, which is a form that we've probably dealt with it, you just maybe didn't realize it was called standard form. So standard form is written like this. Ax plus by equals c. So your x and y are both on one side of the equation in this case. The reason for that is because when we're talking about something in standard form, the two variables, so x and y are what we usually use, combine to produce a fixed value. So that's standard form. Your two variables are on one side because they combine to produce a fixed value. Now this might be something like, one example that we're going to see in our new unit is you're selling hats for $3 and maybe number of hats is X, plus you're selling shirts for $8, and so number of shirts would be Y. And altogether, your money you make should be $100, something like that. So you're putting those two together to make one value. When you write something in standard form, A, B, and C should all be integers. So those are whole numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could be negative as well. So an example of something in standard form, it might look something like 2x minus 3y equals 7. Something like that. That's in standard form. Whereas in slope-intercept form, you would get the y by itself, is basically what you're doing for slope-intercept form. So go ahead, pause it here if you guys need more time to get these notes down. Otherwise, we're going to go and try some examples. So first, we're going to talk about converting from standard form to slope-intercept form. I wonder if I can move that. There we go. All right, so here's the first example. It should be on your paper, so follow along with me. Again, if I go too fast, you guys go ahead and pause it. I'm going to move this over because I'm kind of trapped to my computer right now. So we want to get this in slope-intercept form. Basically, slope-intercept form just means get y by itself. Remember, because it's y equals mx plus b. So you're just trying to get y by itself. So it's kind of one of those normal problems that we've been doing lately. I'm going to go ahead and put a line through my equal sign. And we're looking at this y right here. He wants to be all alone. So we've got two things to move away from him. I see a 5x and I see a 3. Now, we don't need to separate 5 and x. We can keep that together as one term. So we're going to think about that as one thing, one entity. And then we also need to move this 3. Now remember, we move adding and subtracting before we move multiplying or dividing. So I'm going to move the 5x first because he's being added. Okay? I'm going to move the 3 later because he's being multiplied by the y, and y is the person who wants to be all alone. So I'm going to subtract 5x from each side. 5x minus 5x is 0. On this side, I'm left with 3y. Got my equal sign here. Now over here, this is a really common mistake I saw in our most recent test. 15 minus 5x is not 10x, and it is not 10. You cannot combine 15 and negative 5x. They're not like terms, so we need to keep them separate. To keep in our slope-intercept form where we see the term with the x first, I'm going to write this negative 5x first, and then this is a positive 15, so I'll write plus 15. That's honestly probably the hardest part right there. So if you get that, you should be good. So I moved the 5x over by subtracting it. I wrote it in front because I like to see that term with the x in front, just because that's how we usually write something in slope-intercept form. Now I've got one more thing to do. I need to get this 3 away from the y. It's being multiplied, so I'm going to divide by 3 on each side. Divide by 3 over here. Now, hopefully this reminds you of a method that we called the heart method. So right here, I'll change it to pink or red for a heart. We need to do this division right here. Negative 5x over 3 and our other term, 15 over 3. Heart method always applies when you have more than one term being divided by a single term. So, and I want you guys not to write decimals here, okay? It's easy to see our slope as a fraction. So my first part of my heart right here, I've got negative 5x over 3. Just keep it like that. Negative 5x over 3. Don't divide 5 by 3. That's going to be messy. A slope is really nice as a fraction because you can see your rise and your run, down 5 over 3. Now I'm going to do the other part of my heart, 15 over 3. So 15 divided by 3 is positive 5, so I'm going to write plus 5. So I'll go down here and write my answer more neatly so you can see it. Y equals negative 5 over 3x. You can separate that x out from the fraction, which I like to because it's easier to see the slope right there, plus 5. There we go. Basically, you're just getting y by itself. All right, pause it if you need more time. Otherwise, I'm going on to the next one here. So we've got... Here's our y. He wants to be all alone because we want it in y equals mx plus b form. We're trying to get in slope-intercept form. I'm going to draw a line through my equal sign and look at what I need to move. So I've got a 2 being multiplied. I think I'm going to save that for later. I have this negative x being added here. So I need to move that to the other side. Take a second, think in your head, how would you get rid of that negative x? Don't say it out loud, just think it in your head. So hopefully you are thinking, I'm going to add x because negative x plus x is 0. You just have to do it to both sides. So over here on my left side, I have 2y left. On the other side, I do not have 13x. I have x plus a 12. I just wrote the x term first, then the plus 12. I've got one more thing to do, and you can kind of think of this as a 1x if you want to. I've got a 2 next to y. I need to divide by 2 on both sides. So I'm left with y equals, heart method. I've got 1x over 2 for the first part of my fraction. I'm going to write that as 1 over 2x. You could write it as x over 2 or 1x over 2, but I just like putting the fraction out in front. It's the same thing. Plus, I've got another part of my heart here. 12 over 2 is 6. I'm just going to write plus 6. So I'm going to take a second and write my answer more neatly here. I've got y equals 1/2 x. There's my slope, 1/2, plus 6. There's my y-intercept. Y equals 1/2 x plus 6. All right, so I want you guys to pause the video right now. Take a few minutes. Try this on your own. Maybe take 4 minutes if you guys need that long. Try this on your own and then start it again to check your answer. All right, so here's our solution. I'm drawing a line through my equal sign. This is a tough one. I wonder if you guys got this one. So I have a y here. He has something right next to him. He has a negative 1 being multiplied by him. He also has a 3x out here. I'm going to move that 3x first. So I'm going to subtract 3x from each side. 3x minus 3x is 0. On this side, I'm not left with y. I'm left with negative y, or negative 1y, as you might want to think of it, equals negative 3x minus 7. Negative 3x, the 7's also negative, so it needs to be subtraction over there. Now I can get rid of that negative in front of the y, which is really an invisible negative 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 over negative 1 is positive 1, which is what we wanted. We wanted 1y or just y. Now I'm going to do heart method over here. So negative 3x over negative 1, well, negative over negative is a positive, so that's 3 over 1x, or just 3x is fine. And then I've got negative 7 over negative 1. Well, again, negative over negative is positive, so I have plus 7 divided by 1 is just 7. So that's it. Hopefully you got y equals 3x plus 7. That was kind of a tough one, though. That was kind of mean to give you that one on your own. All right, now we're going to convert to standard form. Honestly, this is way easier. I did the harder one first. So remember, standard form is where we want to have something that looks like this. A number x plus or minus a number y equals some number. We want a, b, and c to all be integers. So basically, you just want your x and y on the same side. So what I'm going to do here is I have this y all alone over here. I want this 4x to be next to it. Okay, you're kind of wanting to get this negative 1 all alone. So I'm going to move that 4x over. It's a positive 4x. If you want to move an entire term, you have to add or subtract it. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4x here, so it'll go away, as long as I subtract 4x on the other side as well. So on this side over here, I'm going to write my term with the x first. So I've got negative 4x. I also have a y, so I'm going to write plus y. On this side, I just have a negative 1, and that's it. That's really all you have to do. You just have to move it so the x and y are on the same side. So my answer is negative 4x plus y equals negative 1. All right, let's try another one. I need to move my x and y onto the same side. So right now, I'm going to move the y over to be with the x, the term with the y to be with the x. Remember, to move this whole term, 4y, you have to add or subtract. If I added it, it would be 8y over here. So I'm going to subtract 4y from each side. Those will go away because 4y minus 4y is 0. Over here, I'm left with x minus 4y equals negative 1 half. Sorry, this 1 half looked kind of weird right here. I couldn't get it to look right. Okay, now here's the problem. Remember how I said that everything had to be an integer? A has to be an integer, B has to be an integer, C has to be an integer. So I've got an integer here, 1x, that's an integer, minus 4y, that's an integer. Over here, negative 1 half. That is not an integer. So if you want to get something out of fraction form, all you have to do is multiply by the denominator. 2 over 2 cancels. This is just negative 1. Now, do you think you can just multiply by 2 on that right side? Okay, hopefully you all just said no. So we also have to multiply the other side by 2. Remember, I'm doing this because I don't want a fraction right here. I'm multiplying by whatever that denominator was to get rid of the fraction, but I have to multiply by 2 on both sides. So hopefully you're thinking distribution right now. That's what we have to do now. So I'm going to have 2 times 1x is 2x. 2 times negative 4y is negative 8y equals, well, these 2's went away, so I just have negative 1. And now I have an answer in standard form. That works. I think I gave you at least one with the fraction on your paper. All right, so try this one on your own. Pause the video for a second. Try this one and then come back. Try it for maybe, you probably only need 2 minutes for this one. Try getting this in standard form. So I want you to put this in standard form and then come back and check the video to see if you did it correctly. All right, so hopefully you had some time to try this. I'm going to draw a line through my equal sign. I want it in standard form. I want my x and y on the same side. I'm going to move this minus x over here to be with on the side with the term with the y. So to move minus x, hopefully you added x to each side. Negative x plus x is 0. On this side, I want to write my term with the x first, so I've got x, a positive 3y, so plus 3y, equals, well, those went away, so all that's left here is 4. That's it. X plus 3y equals 4. All right, I think that was the last one. Yeah, so now I want you to complete the back of this worksheet in class today. You can take it with you, do not need to turn it in, but don't lose it, keep it. If you finish that, I have some puzzles that I gave to your teacher to do right now. But hopefully this is good. Hopefully you got something from this video and you're able to do the worksheet, work as hard as you can. We will talk about it in class when I see you guys on Friday. Remember that you can also retake your test on Friday if you do meaningful corrections for it. So be ready for that if you'd like to do that on Friday. All right, have a great day. See you later.